Yo, what's going on? It's D-Man, you already know. Just want to talk some basketball to y'all. I just got done watching the Heat and Celtics game. It was a great game. Up until at the end of the fourth quarter, the Heat started pulling out. Rondo had a quiet triple-double. LeBron was playing really well. He's been playing well all postseason, to be honest. And Chris Bosh did his thing, Shouts out to Chris Bosh also. He knocked down a good amount of threes. I was on Twitter, actually. I was like, man, why is Chris Bosh like the best three-point shooter on the Heat? But I basically want to talk about the NBA Finals, OKC versus the Miami Heat. And I've been watching a lot of NBA Jerry vids lately, and I think that's the reason I'm doing this. I just feel like talking basketball. And so OKC is a really great team. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant, that's their big three. And of course the Heat have their big three in Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh. But in my opinion, the Miami Heat big three are going to have to play way harder. And the reason is, I just think that OKC has the better team. They got Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, and the Heat, they don't really have any big men. Even though the Thunder only have like defensive big men, they can still score when they need to. Ibaka can hit a jumper here and there. Kendrick Perkins really D's up, but he hit jumpers here and there, get his little dunks in. Haslam, he can be a problem too, but it just depends on how open he gets. OKC, their defense is alright. I definitely think their defense is better than Miami. That's just me. Overall, as a team, of course, their defense is better than Miami. On offense, I don't know. Miami, they're unpredictable to me. So is OKC, but I'll get to them later. But Miami, they're unpredictable to me. LeBron James, he balls. He's balling this postseason. You know what I'm saying? If you still saying LeBron sucks because he doesn't have a ring, you just must be a legit LeBron hater, because dude is balling. And like I said, I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but you kind of have to respect his game. He's going ham. Chris Bosh, he did his thing even with the injury. When the Heat lost, I forgot what game it was. It was when the first game Chris Bosh was active versus the Celtics. I thought he should have got in near the end of the game. I thought they could have pulled the game out, but I guess not. But Chris Bosh, he's a big part of the Heat too. He's a great jump shooter. He makes good decisions. And I don't know, it hurts me to say this, but Dwayne Wade, by far, he's been the most inconsistent on the Heat for some reason. Actually, he's been consistent, but in a bad way. Because in this Celtics series, he didn't average a lot of points in the first half. First half, he was kind of non-existent. He was irrelevant to me. And then in the second half, he'll do his little thing. But for the most part, it's been all LeBron. And when Chris Bosh plays well, it's hard to beat the Heat. Also, when Mario Chalmers is aggressive, I like when Mario Chalmers is aggressive, because it puts another factor that the Heat can go to get some offense going. He's a good slasher. He doesn't really miss any of his layups that he take. And so when Mario Chalmers is aggressive, that's a good thing for the Heat. But then again, he has to know his role also. And I think that's where controversy kind of comes in. Shane Battier, Mario Chalmers, Mike Miller, those are the three main support players for the Heat, in my opinion. Once again, these are all my opinions. I know some people are probably down in the comment section right now talking about, man, what are you talking about? But just chill. But Mario Chalmers, Mike Miller, Shane Battier, those are the three main support players for the Heat, along with Udonis Haslam, but he doesn't really fit into this category I'm about to talk about. Them dudes are going to have to make all their threes in order to beat this OKC team. All of them. They can't be missing those open shots that they get sometimes. Shane Battier this last game for the Celtics, he shot pretty well from behind the line. I don't remember Mike Miller and Mario Chalmers taking a lot of threes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Chris Bosh made some threes. So, like I said, this Miami team, I definitely think they're going to have to play harder. They're going to have to make more shots and make less mistakes. As for OKC, I think they can make a few mistakes, but I'm not saying that they don't have to play hard, but I think it's just going to be easier for them. It just all depends. Like I said, they're kind of inconsistent too. Russell Westbrook, you don't know which one you're going to get. The first two games versus the Spurs, This dude was taking more shots than Kevin Durant. I don't know who checked him, because for the rest of the games he calmed down. I don't know who checked him. Whoever it is, they need to have a medal because they saved the series. But Russell Westbrook, he's here and there. He's a great point guard. I mean, he's passing around. He can still score a lot too, but he just can't take that many shots. That many shots he was taking versus the Spurs in the first 2 games. You can't have like 30 points on 24 shots, man. That's not okay. Kevin Durant, as of lately, he's been going ham. I remember when the playoffs first started versus the Lakers and Mavericks, Russell Westbrook kind of got them through that, along with James Harden. James Harden is probably going to be a problem because I think in either D-Wade, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not the biggest Miami Heat fan, so I'm not sure on Mario Chalmers' defense, but I think either D-Wade is going to have to deal Russell Westbrook or James Harden, depending on which one in the game. And if they're in the game at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I'm sleeping on somebody that can play defense real well, but who knows? Because I think they're going to have their way in the paint. That's the main thing. They're both kind of jump shooting teams. Both of these teams kind of settle for the jump shot. So, I mean, it's going to be a good series regardless. It's going to be a great series, in my opinion. Either KD or LeBron will get their first ring. Oh, wow. I kind of want to see that, man. I really do. As for who I think is going to win, I'm just not sure. But, well, before I get to that, another thing I want to talk about home court advantage. And I'm not going to talk about the literal sense home court advantage, but who will win at home more than the other team. I'll say this. The Miami Heat, I don't think they'll win in OKC. Any game in OKC at that. And OKC, I think they can steal a game in Miami. Now, I'm not saying who's going to win. That doesn't mean anything, but I'm just throwing that out there. OKC can steal a game in Miami, and I don't think Miami can still win OKC. And the main problem is, my boy Shea Down said this the other day, OKC, that's like a college team, man. You step into that arena, and I bet it is crazy loud, and they feed off that. You look at the Miami Heat games, and I think, man, some of those people at the Miami Heat games are like so shady sometimes, because I mean, the most of the game, the crowd, they're there, but they're kind of quiet. You expect them to be louder so the home team can feed off that. Believe me, they really do. But they don't get loud until they actually take the lead, or you see a dunk. And when the Heat are losing, they're just there. Their head's not in the game. They're not really paying attention. They're just super quiet. And so that's why I think OKC it's just gonna take all the games at home, in my opinion. That's just what I think. But as for who can win this series, of course, sky's the limit. Anything's possible. Who I think gonna win, I'm just not sure anymore. Back in the day when you called basketball games, you pretty much knew who was gonna win. But now it's too, it's just unpredictable. Injuries, inconsistency. You never know who's gonna bust out of a shell in the next game. It's crazy. But I want to go with the Thunder winning this series. That's just looking at the stats and everything. What I hate is when I look at stats and everything. I know stats aren't everything, but when I'm actually thinking about who wants to win, I think about the rosters and everything like that. And I hate when I'm wrong, or I'll lose a bet to a person that says, I just don't see them winning. Says something simple like that, but I say OKC should win this series simply because, in my opinion, they have the better team. And LeBron James, if the Heat win this series, LeBron James is going to have to go crazy. Kind of like that game he did in Boston. He's going to have to be focused. He's going to have to be locked in. Not saying that he can't, but pretty much all of the Heat, they're going to have to be locked in. LeBron James is going to have to go ham. Mike Miller, Shane Battier, Mario Chalmers, they're going to have to make those threes. Udonis Haslem's going to have to defend. Udonis Haslem and Joel Anthony, they're going to have to defend down low. UD got to make those jump shots. Like I said, it just seems like a tougher time for the Heat. But I'm not saying that they can't win. I don't even want to pick this series anymore. I'm going to make a pick and keep it to myself. Because, like I said, it's crazy. You never know what's going to happen. Like I said, Rondo, he came out, dropped 44. Triple-double, and still lost. I don't know, man. I just don't know. We're going to have to see. And let me hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Who you think is going to win and why? Mainly what I'm interested in is why. So, this D-Man, and I'm out.
If you aren't already, don't forget to follow D-Man UNT 2014 on Twitter.